It was a few weeks after we laid to rest the man I called my father, the man I will always think of as my father. We were sitting around the kitchen table when my mother told me that Uncle Jerry was my real father. Uncle Jerry was often around. My mother worked for him as his assistant. He dealt with legal matters in commercial real estate. My mother would often try to explain what he did, but I never paid much attention. Growing up, I never felt especially close to my father. He wasn't very educated and worked many low-paying jobs to support us. I respected him a lot, but he missed most of my childhood because he was always working. It was common during my teenage years to see him working at the gas station or on a garbage truck. He balanced multiple jobs and seemed to rarely sleep. He passed away in his late 40s, right after I graduated high school. He was there for my graduation, telling me how proud he was. Just thinking about that makes me emotional. As I thought about my father, I realized my mother was still talking. I interrupted her, asking, "What about my brother and sister? Who is their father?" My brother, 5 years older than me, had graduated from college the year before and was living with his girlfriend. My sister, 3 years older, was in her 4th year of college and doing an internship. My mother replied, "Uncle Jerry is their father, too. I talked to them about this last week." She continued speaking, but I was lost in my thoughts, so I interrupted again. "Did my father know?" "Jack, I've already told you. Uncle Jerry is your father. Just answer the question, Mom. Did the man I called Dad know he wasn't my real father?" Uncle Jerry stood up and said, "There's no need to talk to your mother like that." I stood up and gave him a fierce look. To describe Uncle Jerry, he was a short, overweight man. He was probably old enough to be my mother's father. I was 18, strong, and over 6 feet tall. Uncle Jerry sat back down. "Guys," my mother said, "we have a lot to discuss, and I don't think you've heard everything I said. Jack, as far as I know, your father never knew he wasn't your biological father. More importantly, Uncle Jerry and I are getting married next month." I heard her, but I was thinking about calling my brother and sister, maybe my brother first. My mother was talking on and on, unaware that I wasn't paying attention. I got up and walked away. As I was heading outside, I heard her call for me to come back, but I kept walking, got into my car, and drove to my brother's apartment. When I arrived, he looked at me and pulled me in for a hug. "By your expression, Jack, I can guess that Mom had the talk with you," he said. "Then I assume she had it with you too, Steve," I replied. Maybe a bit differently since I already had my suspicions. For a while, I felt something was off in our family. Dad was always busy, and so was Mom with Uncle Jerry. Plus, we don't really look like Dad, and luckily not like Uncle Jerry either. Back in college, one of my friends worked in a DNA lab, so I asked him to run some tests. I used Dad and Mom's toothbrushes for samples along with my own and our sister's. Since you and I look similar enough, I didn't bother with your sample. It turns out Dad isn't the father of any of us, but Mom is definitely our mom. "Then who is our father, Steve? Do you have any idea?" I asked. "No, but I did bring it up with Dad one night. We always thought he was busy with work, but he spent a lot of time at a local bar called The Shack. He wasn't a drinker, but that's where he often had his meals. I wondered why he never ate dinner with us, and found out he usually had it at The Shack. When I asked him about it, the anger on his face was shocking. But then he smiled and said he knew I would figure it out. Dad told me he couldn't have kids. He never talked to Mom about it, but when she came home pregnant, he had no clue who our real father was. He loved us as if we were his own and was glad to be a dad, even if he didn't love Mom. He just couldn't be around her, which is why he worked so much. He also asked me not to tell you until after you finished high school. This has been a really tough day. Do you think Mom believes we're Uncle Jerry's kids?" I questioned. "I'm not sure what she thinks, but it seems likely she was with Uncle Jerry and maybe someone else too," Steve replied. He called our sister Anne, and we decided we should all sit down together. I asked Steve where his girlfriend was, and he explained he caught her being unfaithful and ended things. Anne, Steve, and I gathered to discuss what we should do next. We talked about whether or not we should confront Mom to discover who our biological father really was. As a widow, it seemed like she might be telling Uncle Jerry he was the father for support and security. The three of us decided to take a genealogy test to learn more about our family. When the results came back, We found out that our fathers were all different. This meant my mom had been with 3 other men besides my dad and Uncle Jerry. We confronted my mom and asked her who our real father was, but she insisted it was Uncle Jerry. She started crying, saying that she never lived on her own and needed Jerry to believe he was our father, or else he would leave her. We promised her we wouldn't tell Jerry anything if she told us the truth. After a lot more crying, she explained that Steve and Ann's father was one of 2 men she had been with, and my father was someone she was with just once because she wanted another baby. She didn't even know his name. Again, my mom begged us not to tell Uncle Jerry while she cried. My brother called us outside. I was so upset with my mom that I wanted to go to Uncle Jerry's office with the test results. Ann, who had the closest bond with our mom, wanted us to show some kindness. Steve was worried about upsetting our mom's relationship with Uncle Jerry. He said, "If it's not Uncle Jerry, she'll probably turn to me. It's better for me if she lets Jerry think he's the dad of 3 kids who don't resemble him at all. But after this, she can't be in my life anymore. We should tell her she has to leave us alone in exchange for keeping the truth from Uncle Jerry." I didn't agree, but the others outvoted me. We went back inside, and my brother informed her of our decision. We would let Uncle Jerry stay in the dark if she promised not to contact us again. I was disappointed she accepted this so quickly. It felt like she was choosing a life with a man over her own children. After that, I never spoke to my mother again. Fast forward several years during college, I fell in love with Jessie. However, my mom's past made me unsure about marriage. Jessie and I lived together for 2 years after graduation. I knew she wanted to get married, but I worried I wouldn't handle any unfaithfulness well, like my dad. Sometimes I would follow her to see if she was really at the gym, doing yoga, or shopping. Jessie caught me once. Tension was already high between us because she had been hinting about marriage and starting a family. Now I had to confess my fears and tell her about my mother's infidelity, the man who raised me, and my unknown biological father. I explained about the men who fathered my brother and sister, too. I admitted I had trust issues. After that, Jessie and I barely spoke for a week, and I feared she might be planning to leave. The following Saturday, Jessie was sitting at the kitchen table when I arrived. She looked serious and said, "We need to talk." After I took a sip of coffee, she began, "I'm hurt that you don't trust me, Jack, and it seems unfair to judge all women based on your mother's actions. I care about you and want to build a life together. I had my lawyer make a prenup. If I ever betray you, you would get everything. I can also turn on my phone tracker so you can know where I am at all times. If there's something else you think we should add, let me know." She sat quietly with her hands folded. My thoughts spun in many directions. Jessie had never given me a reason to doubt her, and my trust issues would follow me with any woman I chose. I envisioned a happy life with a lovely wife and children playing outside. My brother was already married, so I asked for his advice. He worried about his own wife, but didn't want to let our mother's mistakes ruin his life. He didn't plan to waste time spying on her unless he had a reason. Looking at Jessie, I saw her beauty and felt love for her. Most importantly, she wanted the same future I did. My brother was right. I should not let my mother's past ruin my relationship with Jessie. I shouldn't let my fears destroy what I hoped to have with the woman I loved. I asked Jessie to get ready to help me choose an engagement ring. Still, unlike my brother, I found it hard to fully trust. I wanted proof, so I decided to buy a tracker for her car and one for her bag that could record conversations. Over the years, I rarely checked the devices. I had to replace them many times as technology advanced. The tracker and recorder needed to be charged, and I kept spare ones to switch out on the rare occasions I thought about them. One day, while changing out the recorder, my world fell apart. I found a small box of condoms. Since I had a vasectomy long ago, she wouldn't need them with me. I couldn't help but wonder who they were for. Maybe someone left them as a joke, but that didn't seem likely. We had been together for nearly 20 years, from college to now. As I looked at the calendar, I saw that we were both supposed to attend her company's Christmas party that Saturday night. I made some calls and started to plan. I took a pin and poked holes in the condoms, then smoothed the foil to hide what I had done. Someone was going to get a surprise. As Saturday drew near, I noticed a charge for a purchase from Victoria's Secret. While Jessie was in the shower, I found a bright red bra and panty set hidden in her closet. I should have felt sad, but my anger took over. Jessie's sister was supposed to watch our kids on Saturday night. I didn't think our kids, aged 10 and 12, needed a babysitter. They were old enough to take care of themselves. But Jessie insisted. On Saturday night, we were waiting for her sister Anne to arrive when Jessie's phone rang. Anne's son was sick and wouldn't be able to come. How convenient. I would have to stay home with the kids while Jessie went out alone. Jessie came home around 3 in the morning from a party that ended at 11. I felt her climb into bed, but instead of sleeping, I heard her softly crying. I got up and slept on the couch, my mind racing with thoughts. I woke up early and got the kids dressed. I took them to my brother's house before Jessie woke up. I had already told my brother what was happening, and he and his wife were happy to watch the kids. On the way home, I called Anne to check on her daughter, asking if she was feeling better. Anne said she was keeping her daughter close to the bathroom until she was okay. I wished her son didn't catch anything, and ended the call. I parked in the driveway just as the morning light came through the blinds, casting long shadows across the living room. The house felt heavy, filled with unspoken secrets, and I was reminded of the regret that lingered since I had tampered with the condoms. My grip on the steering wheel tightened as I replayed my conversation with Anne. Her voice was calm, unaware of the truth that contradicted Jessie's story. There was no son sick. It was a daughter with a stomach issue, and the details didn't match. But I kept my voice light and ended the call without hinting at my thoughts. Now, back home, the tampered condoms felt like a weight I couldn't ignore. What if my hasty decision set off a chain reaction I couldn't control? My anger simmered, mixed with a feeling that things might go deeper than just one night. I stepped inside quietly, the door closing behind me with a final sound that echoed in my chest. The kitchen smelled of fresh coffee, sharp and bitter, the pot still warm on the counter, with steam rising gently into the air. Jessie was in the kitchen, going through her morning routine. She poured a cup of coffee and stirred in some cream, her back turned to me. She seemed tired, her hair messy from a night of poor sleep after coming home late. There was a faint scent of perfume mixed with something sharper, maybe alcohol, lingering around her. I stood there for a moment, feeling a mix of anger and regret for the choices I had made. The room felt smaller, with the sound of the fridge filling the silence. I worried about how this might all turn out, but my anger took over, pushing me forward, my steps heavy on the tile. I placed a small box on the table with a loud thud, breaking the quiet like a gavel. She turned around, eyes widening when she saw my serious expression. "Morning," I said, my voice steady but carrying the weight of sleepless nights. "We need to talk about last night and this." She looked at the box and then back at me, her spoon halting mid-stir, softly clinking against the mug. "Jack, what's going on? You look worn out." "Tell me about the condoms, Jessie. The ones I found in your purse, and the red lingerie in your closet. The charge from Victoria's Secret for the company party, what's that about?" Her face went pale, and the mug shook in her hand before she set it down, spilling some coffee. "Condoms? I don't know what you mean. It must be a mistake or someone—" "Stop it," I interrupted, keeping my voice low but firm as I stepped closer. "I found them while checking the tracker. Yes, the one you know about, but apparently you don't check your own things well enough. And Anne? Her kid is fine, just a little sick, not what you said. So why the lie about needing a babysitter? Why go alone?" She froze, her denial starting to crack under the pressure. Her eyes flitted to the box and then away, and she sank into a chair, covering her face with her hands for a moment, her breathing quick. When she looked up, tears shone in her eyes, but there was something else there, maybe defiance or just exhaustion. Okay, fine. The lingerie. It was meant for you as a surprise. But things have been so hard between us, I just wanted to feel good about myself for once. And the condoms. Jack, they're not what you think. They were just a precaution, you know? Just in case things got overwhelming at the party. Nothing was planned, just a backup. Precaution for stress relief? I asked. The words hung in the air, suggesting a readiness that cut deeper separate from Victor, but still a breach of trust. What do you mean by needing condoms after my procedure? And if they're for stress relief, who were you using them with? She swallowed hard, her voice dropping, fingers twisting nervously in her lap. No one, Jack. It was silly, all right? A gag gift from the office, like I said. But maybe I kept them because everything feels so controlled with you. The tracking, the questions, it's like I'm always being watched. I just wanted something that felt like my choice. I let the silence grow, watching her fidget, the steady drip of the faucet marking the tension. It didn't quite add up, not with her late return and the sounds I had heard in bed. And the detour after the party? The tracker showed you didn't come straight home. You stopped somewhere for hours. Her breath caught, and she wiped at her eyes. I ran into Victor, an old colleague from work. Nothing happened, I promise. We just talked. He's been listening to me about us. How you've been so distant and always checking up. It felt nice to be undisturbed for once. Victor. The name hit me hard, reminding me of memories I'd rather forget, names thrown around lightly, hiding deeper issues. I recalled a scene at the kitchen table, the air heavy with my mother's tears as she pleaded with us not to ruin her fragile world. Don't tell Jerry, she had begged, hands clutching the tablecloth tightly. I never meant for it to go this far, the secrets, the lies. But he makes me feel seen after years of being unheard. The memory was painful, echoing Jessie's current distress. Was I becoming the distant figure she had described, pushing Jessie into the same corners? I shook it off and focused on the now. You talked? At 3 a.m? And Anne, how does she fit in? Have you both been making plans without me? Jessie's shoulders dropped, the fight leaving her. Anne, she said I should go out more. She thought I needed space from your worries. She's my sister, Jack. She sees how much it's wearing me down. The similarities caught me off guard, reminding me of those old family secrets, but I pushed it aside, concentrating on her. She wasn't just being defensive. There was real hurt in her voice, as if I had been the one causing our problems. Then my phone buzzed, a text from Steve appearing. Hey, bro heard from Anne that you're dealing with some family issues. Need advice? Call if you want. Don't let it stay like before. His words brought me back, reminding me I wasn't alone in this messy situation. She followed me into the living room as I turned away, needing to breathe. Her footsteps were soft and uncertain, but she took my arm, turning me to face her. Her touch was warm against my skin. Jack, please listen to me. Your constant doubt is overwhelming. The trackers, the questions. It feels like I'm being judged every day. Victor is just a friend, someone who listens without thinking the worst of me. I came home upset because I hate that it's come to this. I love you, but I can't keep living like I'm under suspicion. Her words stirred feelings of guilt and anger inside me. Her hand on my arm felt familiar, bringing back memories of happier times, nights spent together, laughter in the dark. But now it felt different, her touch pulling me closer even as doubt pushed me away. I paused, our bodies inches apart, the air thick with unspoken tension, her breath quickening against my neck. Her eyes searched mine, and for a moment I almost leaned in, the connection between us growing like a storm. But I pulled back, the spell broken as cool air filled the space. You say nothing happened, but the lies keep piling up. The party ended at 11. What were you doing for those extra hours? Talking doesn't take that long. She hesitated, then let out a sigh, sitting down on the couch, the cushions making a soft sound. We got coffee after. Then, I drove around, thinking. About us, about how to make this better. Anne told me to stand up for myself and not let your issues control me. But I didn't cheat, Jack. I wouldn't. Her voice broke on the last word, tears flowing now, her shoulders shaking with quiet sobs. I saw a side of her I had ignored, her emotions suffering under the weight of my worries, her light dimmed by my shadows. But memories of my mother crying, begging for secrets, trading the truth for safety, echoed in my mind. I stepped back, the room feeling smaller, the walls closing in with the weight of it all. I need time to think. It's too much. She nodded, drying her tears, but the look in her eyes lingered as I grabbed my keys. Driving without direction, the city rushed by streets I had known for years felt strange, the noise of horns and traffic becoming a distant sound. My mind raced, trying to piece together Victor's part and influence, all of it reflecting the cracks I had grown up with. Was I pushing her away just like my father's absence had left room for others? Regret gnawed at me. What if my mistakes had caused problems I couldn't fix? But no, the lies were hers. I looked at the messages on my phone and saw texts to Anne asking for advice. They were unclear enough to create doubt. Then I received another message from Steve. Seriously, man, if it's about Jesse, don't go overboard yet. Talk it out. His words reminded me to think, not just react. When I parked at a nearby park, my decision became clear. This wasn't just about a confrontation. It was about uncovering the whole situation. I wanted to reveal the truth, not just destroy everything. I'd start with Anne and do some careful watching. No more reacting, I'd plan, piece by piece, to break the cycle that had troubled me since that day years ago. As I sat on the park bench, the hard surface pressed against my back, I stared at my phone, the app ready but unused, the light from the screen illuminating my hands. I had left Jessie hours ago, her tears still ringing in my mind, her feelings of being left out, mixing with memories of my mother's old worries. But feeling sorry for myself would not fix anything. If Anne was giving Jessie advice that led her to Victor or any escape, I needed clear proof. Strong, undeniable evidence to show the truth before it made things worse. I put my phone away, started the car, and drove to Anne's house, pretending to check on her sick child. The drive helped calm my nerves, even as my thoughts raced about how to secretly put a tracker in. It was risky, but necessary. As I approached her neat house with its well-kept lawn, I hesitated for a moment before knocking. Anne answered, her face going from surprise to a strained smile. She looked worn out, her hair tied back, and no makeup to hide the tired lines on her face, with dark circles under her eyes. "Jack? What brings you here? Everything okay with the kids?" "Yeah, they're fine," I replied, stepping inside as she welcomed me. I tried to sound relaxed to cover my unease. The air smelled faintly of lavender cleaner, trying to hide something less pleasant. The living room had a clean scent with toys scattered around. "Actually, I came to check on your daughter. Jessie said she had a stomach bug, sounded rough. Thought I'd bring some electrolytes." She brushed it off, hurrying towards the kitchen. "Oh, that's kind. But she's past the worst of it. Just keeping her hydrated now. Coffee?" I nodded as she poured, looking around for her bag. There it was, resting over a chair, its zipper slightly open. "Sure. While I'm here, can we talk about Jessie? Things seem a little strange lately. You speak with her a lot. Maybe you know what's bothering her." Anne placed the mugs down, moving carefully and avoiding my gaze for just a moment, steam rising between us like unspoken thoughts. "Strange how?" "She mentioned you're always concerned about trust, but you know every marriage has tough times." I leaned against the counter, pretending to care while my hand reached casually toward her bag. "Tough times, yeah. But she's pulling away and keeps talking about this Victor guy. An old colleague, she says. Do you know anything about him?" Her laugh came out too fast, too light, showing her nervousness. "Victor? He sounds familiar from her work stories. Maybe it's just harmless flirting. She needs to unwind. Your constant checking can't be easy for her." As she turned to grab sugar, I slipped a small tracker into the side pocket of her bag, my heart racing. The fabric made a slight noise, but she didn't notice. "Flirting? That's your advice? Come on, Anne, you're her sister. Shouldn't you be encouraging her to focus on our relationship instead of distracting herself?" She stirred her coffee, the spoon making a rhythmic clinking sound, which made my growing doubts feel even louder. "I'm just saying, Jack, give her space. She's loyal, but pushing too hard may only make things worse." Her words hung there, filled with a contradiction I couldn't yet express. I sipped my coffee, allowing the conversation to drift to family chatter, but my anxiety grew with each passing minute until I excused myself. Back in the car, I turned on the app, watching the dot move first still, then driving away. Good. By evening, the tracker led me to a plain motel on the outskirts of town, the kind with flickering neon signs and empty parking, dimly lit under buzzing lights. I parked a block away, binoculars ready, heart racing as I spotted Anne's car. She got out, glanced around, and knocked on a door. A man opened it mid-40s, wearing a rumpled suit, pulling her inside like they knew each other well. A co-worker? I waited, then moved closer, placing a small audio device under her car when the way was clear. It felt risky, but my anxiety pushed me forward, alert to every sound around me while I waited. Hours later, back in my office, I downloaded the recordings, the blue light from the screen casting long shadows. Then I heard Anne's voice through the static. "I really needed this. My husband has no idea he thinks I'm at yoga." The man laughed softly. "And your sister? Are you still trying to get her to relax?" A moment later, Anne replied, "Yeah, Jessie is stuck in that marriage. I told her to enjoy life, like us. She's jealous of her perfect life, you know, if I had what she has. But regrets haunt me. That child we almost had, I can't stop thinking about it. The news hit me hard, a secret child? From this affair or somewhere else? It reminded me of my own struggles, but Anne blaming Jessie for her own regrets was unfair. My hands trembled as I saved the file, the weight of family secrets pressing down on me, one secret leading to another. Her voice stirred memories of my own family's issues. I had to confront it. The next morning, I called Anne, keeping my voice steady even as I felt sick inside, the phone cool against my ear as I walked around the kitchen. "Anne, we need to talk. About Jessie and your advice." She sounded unsure, a pause in her breath. "Jack, what's going on?" "I'm at work." "Cut the small talk," I said, my voice sharper now, cutting through the tension. "I know about the motel, the co-worker. How you're being unfaithful while telling Jessie to find her freedom. That's rich coming from you." Silence hung in the air. Then her voice wavered, a hint of fear creeping in. "How? How do you know that? Are you spying on me now? This is crazy, Jack. Stay out of my life." "Does it really matter how?" I retorted, growing more frustrated as I spoke. "You're leading my wife into the same chaos you're in. Why? Jealousy? Trying to push your own mistakes onto her?" She inhaled sharply, sounding worn. "It's not what you think. My marriage has been fake for years. I see Jessie struggling under your distrust, and yes, maybe I'm a little jealous. She has what I wanted, stability, kids without secrets. But that child, from a past mistake, hidden from everyone, I regret it. That whole situation is tied to my own unhappy marriage feeling unseen, just like Jessie feels with you. But that doesn't mean I'm wrong about you two. You're stifling her." "Stifling? So you want Jessie to mess up her life like yours is messed up?" I challenged, our argument becoming intense. "Living a half-life is miserable, Jack," she shouted, her voice rising. "You're holding her back just like my husband ignores me." "I thought a bit of freedom might help you see savor from the emptiness I know too well." I hung up, filled with a bitter irony, Anne seeking secrecy now, a twist echoing with past cries I had heard before, her honesty revealing the hypocrisy tied to her own past. But this didn't defeat me. It fueled my determination. Anonymous tips to her husband? Perhaps a way to gain some advantage. For now, it was evidence against the situation tightening around my family. Memories flooded back as I walked around the room, the family meeting from years ago, the confrontation that broke our bonds. My current doubts mirrored those. Was I just enduring things again, letting past hurts grow? No. This time I would take action, focused and determined. With my journal in hand, I wrote down my fears, worried about history repeating itself, and trust being broken again, but I ended with a promise. I would uncover the truth, starting with proof that couldn't be denied. The cycle stopped with me. I pressed the pen harder against the page, my determination growing stronger, connected to the promise I had written down the night before. The journal lay open on my desk, ink still fresh from last night's writing, its words expressing my mix of frustration and determination. But just determination wasn't enough, I had to act, to dig deeper into this situation before it trapped me completely. Jessie had left for errands that morning. Her goodbye kiss lingered a moment too long, feeling less genuine now, her scent vanilla mixed with something floral clinging to my shirt, almost like a challenge. I waited until her car turned the corner, then followed at a distance. The engine's hum matched the tension in my chest, the rearview mirror reflecting my serious face. As cars blurred by, memories came back to me, dragging me to that tearful moment in the kitchen with my mother, her sobs sounding like a distant storm, begging for silence to protect her new life. "Don't tell Jerry," she had pleaded, her eyes red, voice shaky with the weight of her lies, holding my hands as if I could save her. The similarities hurt now, Jessie's secrets echoing those same lies. I gripped the steering wheel tighter, forcing myself to focus on the road, the honking of a passing car jolting me from my thoughts. She pulled into a quiet cafe downtown, one of those nice places with outdoor seating shaded by colorful awnings, where conversations over coffee often hide deeper intentions. I parked across the street, binoculars ready, my heart racing with the thrill of the chase. There she was, sitting at a table checking her watch, relaxed but her fingers tapping nervously on the menu. Minutes passed, the cafe's sounds mixing through my open window, clinking cups, quiet orders. Then a man approached Victor, I guessed, tall and dressed nicely, his smile too smooth as he leaned in for a hug that lasted too long, his hand resting on her back. They ordered coffees, leaning in close. Her laughter floated through the open window of my car, light and carefree, something I hadn't heard from her in a long time. I adjusted the microphone I had set up earlier, trying to catch their words as the soft noise filled my lap. It picked up their voices amid the sounds of birds and distant cars. "Feels like I'm walking on eggshells at home," Jessie said, her voice showing her frustration. "Jack's always assuming the worst," Victor replied smoothly, his voice calm and friendly. "You deserve better than that constant doubt. My dad faced similar problems, competition in real estate and always having to be careful, like that trouble with Jerry's firm back in the day, stealing clients on big deals and underbidding. It cost my dad a lot if you're involved with Jack. It's almost poetic." The name hit me hard, Uncle Jerry. I leaned in, holding my breath, as the microphone picked up every detail, the sound clearer with the gentle breeze rustling the leaves nearby. Jessie chuckled softly, and it made me uneasy. "Jerry? As in your dad's rival? What a small world." "Yeah," Victor continued, lowering his voice as if sharing a secret, a clinking sound from their cups mixed in. "Dad never forgot he said Jerry took clients and ruined investments. If I can help things go your way, maybe through you. Well, it's a chance for payback, isn't it? Hit him where it hurts in his career." I felt a twist in my stomach, realizing this connection I hadn't expected tying back to old grudges and whispers about inheritance. Victor wasn't just being supportive. He was plotting something related to past feuds that started long before my marriage. I stepped back as they finished, Victor's hand briefly touching hers, a gesture that stirred jealousy in me, making my hands shake around the binoculars. As I drove away, I felt lost in a web of betrayals, family secrets reaching into my world, turning old hurt into something bigger. I struggled internally. Was I just being paranoid, or was I right all along? Back home, I dove into research. The office was dim except for the glow from my computer screen, and the fan made a steady noise as I clicked through files. Finding old real estate records was easy, public papers and past deals from years ago, scrolling through faded documents on my screen. Victor's father was a tough investor, and he was in a fight with Uncle Jerry's company over some buildings. There were accusations of unfair practices in the court papers, especially about a downtown project where clients were supposedly taken away. It made sense. Rivalries like that often linger, passed down like family feuds, hinting at disputes over money and property. But why was I dragged into this through Jessie? My job in tech had some connection to real estate apps, but nothing major. Still, the heaviness of it all weighed on me, like family troubles following me everywhere, making me doubt if I could break free from these patterns. The silence in the room made my thoughts race. While I was thinking, my phone buzzed. It was Steve calling at just the right time, almost as if he knew I was in trouble. I answered and started pacing. "Hey man, what's going on?" "Jack? You sound off everything okay? That message about family stuff. Let me know if you need to talk." I took a breath, feeling a bit better just hearing his voice. It reminded me of the tough times we faced together years ago. "It's getting worse. I followed Jessie today and she met with this Victor guy. I overheard him linking it to Uncle Jerry, some old business fight with his dad. They talked about a client deal on that downtown project. He thinks messing with me through her is revenge." Steve whistled lightly. His voice was serious but had a hint of humor. "Whoa, hold on. That's a big connection. Are you sure it's not just worry making you assume too much? Remember when I got caught up in my fears with my wife, almost lost everything over nothing?" "I recorded it," I said, frustration creeping into my voice as I paced. "This is real, Steve. It feels like the family issues are haunting me again. That downtown deal is on record, and it links to inheritance disputes or something." He paused on the line. "Okay, if you're sure, be careful. But don't let this take over your life like it did mine. Stay balanced, trust facts more than anger. And if you need help, I'm here. We've broken free from this before. We can do it again." "You're right," I agreed, feeling relief and the weight of our shared struggles. His words brought me back, and we talked briefly about the next steps. "Thanks, it helps to hear this from you." The call ended there, with him reminding me to stay balanced and focused. I felt strengthened by our bond, knowing that support could push back against the darkness. I would gather evidence and prove that the past didn't define me anymore. The call with Steve stayed in my mind like a lifeline in the middle of chaos. His words pushed me toward action instead of endless thinking, reminding me of the problems in his own marriage that I wanted to avoid. I couldn't just think about things anymore. I needed a solid plan. That evening, I drove to his house along the familiar roads, my thoughts racing as the dashboard lights glowed softly on my hands, gripping the wheel tightly. Steve's house shone warmly in the dim light, a sign of stability I had always wished for. As I stepped onto the porch, the light flickered slightly. He greeted me at the door with a firm handshake and led me into the den, where the air smelled of wood polish and a hint of cigars. The old chairs creaked as we sat down, beers in hand, the cold glass helping me feel more grounded as I shared my troubles, Victor's connections, Anne's dishonesty, and the sinking doubts I had. "This is a lot," Steve said, leaning back with a concerned expression mixed with a big brother attitude, his bottle sweating in his hand. "It sounds like family issues are really getting to you. Remember when I worried about my wife? I thought she was being unfaithful, but it was just work stress. I almost messed everything up for nothing." I nodded, feeling my frustration ease as we fell into the rhythm we had developed over the years. The dim lamp in the room cast long shadows, reflecting my inner struggle. "Yeah, but this feels different. I have proof, not just gut feelings. Still, I can't stop overthinking." "Right," he responded, his tone shifting to cautious optimism, a light humor coming through his advice. "Focus on the facts, Jack. If you jump into it too soon, you might look paranoid. Gather solid evidence before making any big moves. Don't let this consume you like it nearly did to me." I explained my initial plan, my words flowing as clarity began to form in my mind. "I'm thinking of giving Jessie some space. Pull back on the checks and let her believe I'm relaxing. Maybe I can lure her into revealing more, perhaps more meetings with Victor." Steve chuckled dryly and set his beer down with a soft clink. "Clever, but risky. It might backfire if she's innocent. Here's a thought. Reach out to old contacts. You know some tech-savvy folks from college, perhaps even private investigators. You could gather information without flying solo. Also, have you considered therapy? It helped me a lot after my experience. It cleared up the trust issues before they became overwhelming." Therapy? The idea resonated with me, hinting at vulnerability I hadn't thought about before. Steve's suggestion planted a seed of unease, but also a glimmer of hope, seeing someone professional to help untangle the mess my mother's legacy had created. "Maybe," I admitted, letting the idea sit for a moment. "Let's separate the worries from what's real." We talked more, and his ideas helped us come up with a strong plan. With each discussion, I felt clearer in my mind. When he nodded at the end, I knew we were on the right track. Start with facts and support. You can do this. That evening, I returned home to find Jessie in the kitchen, chopping vegetables with careful movements. The sound of the knife hitting the cutting board mirrored the tension in the air. I moved closer, leaning against the doorframe, trying to sound tired. The smell of garlic and sauce filled the room. "Hey, can we talk? About us?" She paused, holding the knife still. Her eyes showed a mix of caution and hope, the blade shining in the light. "Sure. What do you want to say?" I stepped nearer, trying to stay calm even as I felt the weight of what I was about to say. "I've been thinking. Maybe I should give you some space. Stop asking so many questions and let us just be for a while." Her answer came quickly, a hint of relief in her voice as she relaxed a bit. "Really? That could help. Things have felt so tense." "Yeah," I agreed, trying to hide my true feelings. "Starting now. No more hovering." She put the knife down and walked over for a careful hug, her warmth familiar against my body. The kiss to say goodbye lingered longer than expected, her lips soft and full of feeling. I felt her hands on my back, and it was hard not to get swept away. I pulled back first, the moment hanging between us as she said quietly, "Thank you, Jack," her eyes searching mine. The air felt thick with what we weren't saying. Over the next few days, I kept a close watch. The app buzzed with more messages to Victor, coded meetings masked as work lunches. Her eagerness made me suspicious, and it seemed to invite mistakes into the open. Then in the afternoon, I got a notification from Sarah Klein on LinkedIn. "Hey, Jack, long time. Remember that group project in Comp Sci senior year? When we debugged till dawn? I saw your profile, you're a PI now. Coffee someday?" I felt excited about the chance to reconnect. I quickly replied and set up a meeting at a cafe for the next day. She arrived on time, dressed casually in jeans and a blazer, her smile warm as we shared a brief hug. I felt unexpectedly at ease. We ordered lattes and settled into a booth where sunlight streamed through the windows, steam rising from our cups. "It's been so long," she said, stirring her drink, her tone friendly as we opened up to each other. Her fingers tapped the mug lightly. "You look well. Is life treating you okay?" "It could be better," I replied, settling into the conversation. "I'm married with kids, but there are some complications. What about you?" "Your job as a private investigator sounds busy." She chuckled softly, and it warmed the air between us. "Yeah, I'm freelancing now. It adds some excitement. Actually, that's why I got in touch. I saw your name linked to some people at Jesse's company. Have you heard of Victor Lang? He kind of messed up a big case I was working on, leaked information that hurt my reputation and cost me a partnership." Her words caught my attention, hinting at something deeper. "Why do you bring him up?" Her face grew serious, her voice a mix of concern and understanding. "He was a coworker who really hurt my chances. If he's around you, be careful. He's skilled at deception." There was a flicker in her eyes that hinted at motivation, maybe revenge. But the connection between us felt real, even amidst the tension. I leaned in, feeling a growing trust, recalling our old college days. "I think he's involved with my wife. I need help, maybe some surveillance or a look into his background." She nodded, her gaze steady and reassuring. "I understand. It's hard when trust is broken. I'll help you with tracking and background checks, for old time's sake." I agreed, feeling our shared connection deepen. Later, alone in my office, I started organizing my plan, keeping up appearances with Jessie while using Sarah's resources to dig deeper. I made a mental checklist: upgrade the recording devices, watch Victor's actions, check his alibis. Then I noticed something. Jessie's supposed late meeting was actually just them sitting on a park bench together, and the lie fell apart. A feeling of empowerment surged within me as I moved forward with the plan, considering booking a session with Steve to deal with the worries that had brought me to this point. The plan played in my mind like a steady rhythm. Sarah's tools were proving useful: new recordings, capturing conversations, tracking Victor's actions, laying bare his lies. But home felt tense. Jessie's facade of normalcy was cracking under the pressure of secrets, her smiles too bright, her gestures too purposeful. That evening, she surprised me. The dining room was filled with warm candlelight, creating soft shadows on the walls. Gentle jazz music floated through the air, reminding me of happier times when we danced together. Plates of my favorite pasta were placed on the table, steaming and rich with garlic, and a bottle of red wine waited nearby, its color shining softly. She came out of the kitchen in a simple dress that fit her well. As she moved, the fabric gently brushed against her skin. Her smile was shy but bright, bringing back memories of our early days when we shared a special connection when trust was strong. "I thought we could use a reset," she said softly as she poured the wine, her fingers lightly touching mine. This familiar contact sent mixed feelings through me. The cool glass felt different compared to the warmth of her touch. I sat down, feeling old feelings stir even as my doubts grew stronger. "Looks nice. Are the kids asleep?" I asked. "Yeah, early bedtime," she replied, leaning closer. I could smell her familiar scent, a mix of lavender and the day's activities. She whispered to me that it was just us tonight. We talked lightly during dinner, sharing stories about work and the kids, but her touches became bolder. I felt her foot gently sliding up my leg under the table, and her hand lingered on my thigh, her nails making soft circles that sent electric feelings through me. Part of me wanted to feel desire, but the other part was suspicious. Was this real, or was she just trying to distract me? The warmth of the pasta contrasted with the chilly feeling of betrayal I had inside. Each bite felt automatic as I met her gaze, deep and inviting. As we finished eating, she stood up and gave me a playful look, pulling me toward the bedroom with her movements swaying. In the dim light of the bedroom, we were together on the bed. Her kisses were eager, and our hands explored, creating a sense of longing that blurred the lines between us. My fingers traced her back, causing shivers as I recalled familiar paths now tangled with doubt. "I've missed this, missed you," she whispered, her voice low and warm, kissing down my neck. Yet, my mind raced with thoughts of Victor's name that haunted me. It made her eager touch feel different now. Was this a true effort to reconnect, or was it just a way to ease my worries? The tension was high as we tangled in the sheets, our bodies close, and sweat glistening on her skin. She moved above me, her eyes partly closed, lost in the moment, yet doubt held me back. Instead of feeling connected, it felt like a challenge as I wondered how many others had been part of this. Later, as she slept peacefully, I quietly got out of bed. The cool floor beneath my feet helped me think clearly. I grabbed her phone from the nightstand. Its bright screen lit up harshly in the dark. I saw messages to Victor that read, "Starlight meet tomorrow? Need escape after tonight, party plans escalating soon." The messages hinted at something more going on with Victor's secret meetings, symbols like hearts and drinks, but no mention of anyone else. It was clear she was getting closer to him. The thought troubled me. Was this reconciliation just a step toward her next move with him? The next day, frustration bubbled inside me as I met Sarah at her office. It was a busy place with monitors and files around, filled with the smell of coffee and printer ink. I handed her the details from the phone, my voice sharp with suspicion. "Have you figured these out yet? Looks like she has plans with Victor." Sarah scanned the screen, her face serious as she typed quickly. "Yeah, let's break it down. See this? Starlight is a code for that rooftop bar downtown. The emojis suggest her meetings with Victor are becoming more personal." "More personal?" I echoed, anger rising as everything fell into place. The sounds of the office seemed to amplify my heartbeat. "Possibly," Sarah said, her tone supportive as she helped me process the information. "Look, these dates match her work trips. It confirms the lies, Jack. You're not imagining things." Her hand briefly rested on my arm, a comforting gesture that steadied me. We finished our discussion, but the meeting lingered. Our glances created a subtle tension, and the office lights shone softly on her hair. Sarah spoke quietly, her voice hesitant as our eyes met. "I've been cheated on before." It made me doubt everything. Victor was part of my pain, too. He hurt my career and left me with trust issues. I met her gaze, feeling a sense of connection. "I understand. It's tiring to deal with, but being around someone who knows that feeling, it's such a relief. More than that, it feels like something real beginning." She nodded, sharing her thoughts with a bit of hesitation, her cheeks turning a shade pink. It feels deeper than just relief. It feels like a connection. But because of my past, I'm scared to jump in. What if it's just the pain we both share? The moment hung in the air when her fingers brushed against mine as we stood together, hinting at something more just out of reach. I could see her breath quicken as our hands lingered together. That night, alone in the dim light of the office, my mind wandered through the pull Jessie had on me, clashing with Sarah's growing warmth. I couldn't shake the uncertainty that kept me awake, wondering if being open would break me or help me grow, the quiet ticking of the clock making the silence feel heavier. Nights of restless thinking blurred together, caught between my desires and fears. But the sunrise always seemed to bring a new beginning coffee brewing and the happy sounds of kids playing in the kitchen, while Jesse moved through his daily tasks with a comfort that now felt like sandpaper on my nerves. A week after that intense evening, Sarah found me in the living room nervously playing with a small white stick. Her eyes sparkled with a mix of hope and worry, filling the room with the calming scent of her chamomile tea, yet the air was thick with tension. "Jack, sit down," she said, her voice shaky as she held out the stick, which shimmered under the lamp. "Impregnant." The words hit me like a shock, stopping me in my tracks. Joy? Panic took over instead, and I tried to smile even as my thoughts raced, remembering that party, how things went wrong, and how I felt like I couldn't escape the consequences. Pregnant? Wow, that's incredible. She smiled brightly, coming closer to hug me. The warmth of her body against mine was comforting, and I felt the gentle outline of her belly against my shirt. "I know. The test was positive this morning. We're having another baby." I held her tightly, feeling a mix of joy and confusion inside me. My heart raced, and I felt overwhelmed. "When? How far along?" "About 6 weeks," she answered, pulling back to look at me with hope in her eyes as her hand rested on her stomach. "It dates back to around the Christmas party. Remember? It was a tough time, but it happened." The uncertainty in her voice lingered, hinting at secrets, the party atmosphere, choices made, and doubts hanging over us. We set up an early doctor's appointment to get some answers, and as we waited in the bright room later that day, the doctor came in holding a chart. His face was calm, but he looked closely at both of us. "Everything looks good so far," he said, looking between us. "There are no signs of problems so far. It seems like a natural conception given the timing. We'll keep an eye on stress, though. It can affect things early on." No problems? Those words echoed in my mind, disconnecting my actions from what had happened. Whatever occurred that night, the broken condoms hadn't caused this, but the guilt I felt still nagged at me. The early scan didn't show a heartbeat yet, just a small sac, but questions filled my mind that I didn't dare share. We tried to keep our calm as we told the kids the next morning over breakfast. Their excited voices clashed with my worries, the home filled with the smell of toast and jam. "A baby brother or sister?" my daughter asked, her eyes shining with excitement as she reached towards Jessie's belly. "Maybe," Jessie replied with a laugh, but my son, looking concerned, tilted his head. "Daddy, why do you look worried? Is the baby okay?" His innocent question hit me hard, and I felt a rush of protectiveness as I ruffled his hair. "Everything's okay, buddy. I'm just thinking a lot about this happy news." As the days passed, emotions swirled. Jessie became more affectionate, while doubts crept in for me. Her hand resting on her belly felt like a reminder of the secrets I was holding. With Sarah, our talks became more personal during late-night calls, but the pregnancy situation weighed heavily on my mind. Later in the week, I met Sarah at a quiet park bench, trying to escape prying eyes. Her calm presence felt reassuring amidst my worries, and the sounds of leaves rustling and kids playing formed a soft background for our conversation. I shared my worries, dates, and suspicions with a shaky voice. "She's pregnant and says it's mine, but the timing doesn't match. After what I did with those condoms, if it's not my baby..." She reached out and held my hand for a moment, her touch soothing. "Take a breath. I can help you get a discreet DNA test. We can find out without her knowing. But Jack, this guilt is really affecting you. Have you considered talking to someone about it?" Steve said it helped him work through similar worries. It might be a way to tell what's real from what's not. Therapy again, the idea he brought up was growing. A hint of vulnerability that made me nervous but also curious. The thought of getting help was tempting, especially with all the chaos inside me. Maybe, I said slowly, feeling the weight of the word. I think I need it, with everything turning inside me. The test results came back strange, and Sarah shared news that peeled away confusion like layers. The first sign pointed away from me, and the results clearly showed I couldn't be the father. I felt guilt rise as I thought about how I might have messed things up, but deeper investigation revealed it wasn't Victor's child either. The results didn't match, hinting at a one-night encounter at the party. This was separate from my actions, yet connected to the emotional distance I had created. There was no direct link to the broken condoms. Jessie hadn't used them that night. Her choice to leave without protection. The doctor's words echoed in my mind. There was no failure with the barrier. I confronted these thoughts alone, pacing the cold garage floor, tools hanging quietly on the walls. Waves of guilt hit me. My anger had caused cracks in our lives, but the pregnancy was her decision, not directly mine. Was I the reason she turned to someone else, or was this her way of breaking free? My thoughts twisted in circles, saying, "You helped create the problem, but she made it bigger. Her choices mixed with the chaos you both created. Paranoia played a part, but her secrets made it worse. Therapy. Maybe it's time to deal with this before it ruins what's ahead." My turmoil continued, with guilt and fear mixing, but I felt a spark of determination and urge to find the truth no matter what. Doubts increased as I got more confirmations the stranger's role was clear, with no links to Victor. My actions had opened the door to vulnerability, but not to becoming a parent. As the storm grew closer, my kids' innocent questions broke through at dinner. "Daddy, when's the baby coming?" Their curious faces revealed the adult troubles hiding below, igniting my protective instinct, a strong wish to keep them safe, even as everything tightened around us. Prompted by Steve's nudge toward therapy, I decided to book a session that night, wanting to untangle the mess before it trapped us all. The DNA results lingered in my mind, doubts weaving through my quiet moments, but a sense of duty pushed me to keep moving forward, guarding my children from the chaos surrounding us. Days passed in a blur as I balanced work and watching over situations, with Sarah's updates providing little pieces of information that fueled my determination. Then the phone rang one afternoon. It was Anne's name on the screen, and I felt a mix of unease and curiosity, like my mind was closing off. I answered cautiously. The air in my office felt heavy, and the soft noise of the computer fan added to the tension. "Jack? It's Anne," she said, her tone hesitant and tired. "We need to talk about everything." I leaned back, my heart racing. "Now you want to talk? After dragging Jessie into this mess? What's changed?" A sigh came through the line, her words unfolding like a reluctant confession. "Jerry and we're getting a divorce. He found out about the DNA doubts, hired a private investigator, and discovered old tests. He thinks the kids aren't his, and honestly, given what we know, he's probably right. But that's not all. He left behind some files, old business papers. I found out that Victor's dad had a rivalry with one of Jerry's partners. There are inheritance disputes over properties. They both wanted an old will from the bio-father's estate, contested by Victor's dad after a bad client deal. The news surprised me. Connections clicking into place in my mind, rivalries spanning generations. Victor's actions seeming less like a chance and more like part of a bigger plan, with greed driving the disputes. Inheritance? So this is about money, not just a brief fling? Why tell me now? "Because it's getting messy," she admitted, her voice shaky. "I see how my advice affected Jessie, projecting my own regrets. Could you keep this quiet, Jack? For old time's sake?" I hung up, and the call left me with tasks to tackle, ties revealing a larger story. Later that evening, Sarah met me at her office, filled with screens displaying data. Our teamwork felt essential amidst the growing concern, and the smell of takeout coffee filled the air. I handed her the scanned files. Anne had sent old documents detailing past deals, rival bids highlighted in red, and a wrinkled will explaining contested assets linked to a well-known property deal. We laid everything out on her desk. She traced lines on the papers with her fingers as new connections formed, our heads close together, a subtle warmth in the space between us. "Look here," she said, pointing to an old ledger, her arm brushing against mine, lingering for a moment. Victor's dad lost a lot on this property deal he accused Jerry's company of using inside information. The biofather was Jerry's quiet partner and left behind a disputed will that's still being sorted out. So what's Victor's motive? Seeking revenge through claims about inheritance, affecting your job to lower any defenses. A chilling understanding settled in, fear growing as the plan for revenge came to light, personal betrayals rooted in old problems, the argued will tying together past conflicts. It's all connected. My family's history is part of this, but how do we use it? She leaned closer, our discussion becoming a teamwork effort, our voices mixing in excitement, her eyes meeting mine with a spark that hinted at something more. Well, follow the paper trail. Public records can prove the disputes. We can reveal Victor's strategy and turn it against him. Jack, this is serious. Are you okay? Her concern made the moment softer, our hands nearly touching over the files, the air filled with unspoken feelings. Yeah, with you here it feels doable. More than that, it feels right. She smiled slightly, a blush appearing, our close moment hinting at a deeper connection. I feel the same. Let's keep exploring together. Comfort came quietly, her brief touch on my shoulder building a connection, easing the loneliness like a gentle balm. As we finished up, Sarah found new information on Victor emails showing more meetings with Jesse, his activities tied to shady investors. "He's getting riskier," she said, her eyes meeting mine with growing trust. "But now we have an advantage." I responded subtly, a warmth growing in the air. "I couldn't do this without you. It feels right to have someone who understands the full story." The files reminded me of past hurts as I drove home, connecting present betrayals to old cries I had buried. Memories surfaced, my mother's tearful plea, her voice lingering, "Please don't tell Jerry." The connection felt strong, like a lingering ache from past pains. But this time, I would unravel the problems thoughtfully, no longer just waiting to react, evidence my tool, partnership my protection. The files from Anne felt like a good luck charm in my pocket, their truths igniting a cold determination that cut through any doubts connections made, problems to be solved one step at a time. With Sarah's help, we noted Victor's routine, lunches at a fancy bar downtown, where conversations flowed over drinks, but hidden agendas lurked beneath the surface. Pretending to be an investor felt like the best approach, showing interest in real estate projects tied to old rivalries and the disputed will, aiming to draw him out without raising any suspicions. I straightened my tie in the mirror, my hands steady despite the anger inside me. My heart raced with excitement as I entered the dimly lit bar. The sound of glasses and soft conversations surrounded me, and the air smelled of whiskey and cigars. Victor was sitting at the bar, sipping on his drink. He seemed a bit surprised when I walked up and offered my hand with a friendly smile. I felt calm, even though I was angry deep down. "Mr. Lang? I'm Tom Hargrove. I've heard from friends that you are the person to talk to about big investments. Can I join you?" He looked me over, then nodded towards the stool next to him as I sat down. "Sure, I'm always open to new chances. What do you do?" We ordered our drinks, and I asked him casual questions about market trends and past deals. My voice was firm as I tried to gather information, while the recording device in my pocket quietly captured everything. The ice in my glass clinked softly. "I heard your family has some history in real estate. Rivalries can be interesting. Ever run into Jerry's old company?" Victor laughed softly, but was careful at first. The drink helped him relax, and his fingers tapped on the bar. "Oh, yes. My dad never forgot those unfair moves. If you're asking, I know how to settle old scores smoothly, of course." I leaned closer, hiding my intent behind a calm tone. "How do you mean? Sounds personal, like those old deals with clients?" He smiled, proudly narrowing his eyes as he thought. "Let's just say it pays to go for the right people. Like this one guy, his wife was a weak spot. Got close and weakened his career slowly. A little payback for the past." His words felt like confirmation, proof that he had targeted people for revenge, with my marriage being part of it. I nodded, holding back my anger and keeping my hand steady. Weak spot? How did you do that, get her to share secrets? Victor leaned in closer, the scent of his cologne strong. I started casually talking. She was upset with him, always worried. I stirred things up a bit until she opened up about his work. Just gentle nudging, and I had what I needed. What did you want it for? I pressed, showing false sympathy to get more information. Isn't that risky? What if she figured it out? He brushed it off, his confidence growing with the drink. No worries there. She was ready for it. That night at the party, we talked, but she got mad when I pushed too hard, no interest in me, so no help needed. She ended up with someone else for a while. Her problems, not mine. But they weaken him, distract him, and open doors for claims about the inheritance that Dad left unresolved, tied to that disputed will from his birth father's estate. The information came out, mixing ideas and showing deeper motives, business wreckage hiding personal grudges, Jessie's weakness taken advantage of, but her final choice was her own, saying she wasn't involved that night, her escape without help and hasty. Wow, that's harsh, I said, trying to get more out of him, my heart racing under my calm mask. What made her act that way, your little pushes? Victor shrugged, boasting about it now, his glass nearly empty. I told her to relax, enjoy life, mirroring her complaints about feeling like a puppet. I guess she took it to heart. It's almost poetic, her chaos keeps the grudge alive. I pretended to care, my voice digging deeper for one last time. Keeps it alive, how? The job hit. Exactly, distract him. Leak his tech consulting jobs tied to real estate apps. Undermine his work stability. Claim those disputed belongings. It's a win for both sides. His words sealed the deal, layers of truth exposed in our tense talk. I left soon after, the bar's fog closing in, my evidence burning a hole in my pocket. Back in the car, it was time for action, an anonymous tip to Victor's firm. The ethics board alerted with recording snippets, old files added to show the complete mess and conflicts, and the disputed will marked clearly. I hit send from a disposable account, a cold determination washing over me as the message disappeared into the air. The fallout came quickly. By evening, I heard whispers on my feeds, an internal investigation was started. Victor suspended while they looked into it. I watched from a distance, parked outside his office. His hurried steps through the windows felt like a bitter wind that left me feeling empty inside. But then guilt hit me in waves as I drove home, the city lights flashing by like judgments, the ethical dilemma swelling in my mind. Had I descended into revenge too far, becoming like the monsters I hunted? The wind felt tainted, with satisfaction mixed with discomfort, thoughts racing in my mind. You're not better now, Jack, leaking information like he did, becoming the very saboteur in your search for justice. Where's the line? Therapy tomorrow, unpack this before it takes over you, turns you into the very shadow you escaped. The empty victory gnawed at me, regret creeping in but unresolved, the path ahead blurred by tough choices. Later, Sarah met me at a quiet cafe, her presence comforting amid the chaos, her eyes searching mine as I shared the day's weight, the steam from our coffees curling like unspoken questions. I leaked it all, his career ruined, but am I becoming like him? This anger is consuming me. She reached across the table, her hand warm on mine. No, Jack, you're pushing back, not starting it. He came after you first. This is about fairness, not about creating monsters. We have more to uncover, but you're not by yourself. Her words made things clearer, easing some of the doubt I felt. I was still filled with regret, but her support helped me think things through. The fallout from the leak felt bitter, and Victor's downfall didn't feel as satisfying as I had hoped. I kept asking myself where the line was. Was it justice or revenge? The answer blurred in my quiet moments. But home made everything harder. The kids' innocent eyes quickly noticed the tension. Their questions felt sharp and unwanted, and the house that once felt so safe now felt like it was closing in on me with every quiet fight I overheard. One night during family movie night, the living room glowed softly from the screen, and popcorn scattered like little bits of happiness on the floor. My daughter pulled at my sleeve during a quiet moment, her small voice breaking through the cartoon noise. "Daddy, why are you and Mommy always whispering when you're mad?" she asked, her head tilted and eyes wide with worry, clutching her stuffed bear. I tried to smile, but my heart ached with want to protect her. I lifted her onto my lap, her warmth reminding me of how innocent she was. We're just talking about grown-up things, sweetie. You don't need to worry. But you look sad, my son chimed in from the couch. He stopped eating his snack and looked at me, his expression like he'd seen me like this too many times. Is it about the baby or something else? His words twisted in my stomach, reminding me that I wasn't keeping them safe from what was really happening. Hey, we're fine, I said, my voice steady even though I felt a lump in my throat. Sometimes adults get busy, but we love you both more than anything. Let's just enjoy the movie. Your favorite part is coming up. My daughter nodded slowly, but later that night she slipped a drawing under my office door. It was a crayon picture of our family with stick figures holding hands, but my and Jesse's faces were scribbled with frowns, and a small baby blob was in the corner. The picture hit me hard, making me realize just how much she understood without saying a word. I felt a surge of guilt. How had things gotten so bad? The weight of it grew until I knew I couldn't ignore it any longer. I needed to have a serious talk with Jesse after the kids were tucked in. I cornered Jesse and called Anne over. The three of us were in the kitchen under bright lights, and the air felt thick with tension as I showed them my proof recordings and files that tied everything together, making it clear that past truths had come back. The table was filled with papers, making it feel like a courtroom. Enough games, I said loudly, slamming the folder on the table. Jesse, just admit at the party, the stranger. And Anne, your advice? Tell us everything, or this will all come out. Jessie turned pale and sank into a chair, her hands shaking as she looked at me, breathing hard. Okay, there were doubts. The baby isn't yours, Jack. That night, after I argued with Victor, I was with someone else. It was a stupid way to escape the pressure. Her confession hit hard, and we all felt the shock in the room. But I pressed on, feeling angry. Escape? From what? My trust problems that you helped cause. You lied about the birth control, took the wrong turn, why not just talk to me? She shot back, defensive, her eyes flashing. Talk? To you, with your constant checking and doubts? You made me feel trapped? Victor listened to me, and Anne encouraged me. Anne jumped in, looking uneasy, her voice shaky. Jack, it's not all her fault. My advice. I made a mistake. A mistake? I responded, my frustration growing as I moved closer. You pushed her into this, why? Tell me, Anne, your double standard is obvious. She sighed, tears in her eyes, wringing her hands as if trying to squeeze out the truth. It was jealousy, okay? Seeing Jessie happy she had a stable life and kids while I hid my own child. It made me envy your perfect family, Jack. My secret ate at me and projected my regrets onto her, told her to live freely because I felt stuck in my own life. What Anne said hit heavy. Her advice was a reflection of her own struggles, her hidden child the source of her envy. So you messed us up to feel better about your mistakes, hiding a child that's your regret, and you dare give Jessie advice? Anne raised her voice in response. Yes, it's a regret. My marriage fell apart because of it being neglected, led me to make choices that ruined everything. I saw Jessie going down that path with you, and yes, I couldn't help but feel jealous. But don't pretend you're innocent, your doubts made it worse, Jessie chimed in as the argument escalated. He's right, Anne, you pushed me. But Jack, your doubts. They broke us first. Accusations and denials filled the kitchen with heated truths. Jessie admitted his careless choices while Anne broke down, revealing her hidden child's impact. I pushed back against their lies. When we finally sat down, we were drained, and the air was thick with hurt. Afterward, I headed to Sarah's place. The drive was a blur of confusion. When she opened the door, it was a welcome relief. I shared my feelings in her cozy living room, which smelled of herbal tea and was softly lit. Everything is out now, Jessie's admission, Anne's jealousy about her secret child. But the kids are sensing it all. It feels like I'm losing everything. She hugged me tightly and whispered calming words. You're strong, Jack. Facing this head-on is how you protect them. We will figure this out together. The comfort between us grew. Our eyes met, and I felt a kiss, soft and warm, as if something real was starting to grow between us, despite the chaos around us. However, doubts crept back in, and I pulled away, breathless. This, us, with everything falling apart, is it fair? I need to clear my mind therapy, like Steve suggested. I must understand this mess before I bring you into it. She nodded, a flicker of hope in her eyes as her fingers brushed my cheek. Maybe this is the start of something real. No rush, we'll figure it out. Therapy sounds wise, growing through the pain. Our moment stretched out, hinting at new possibilities. We began to outline our next steps in quiet tones, exposing Victor's schemes, revealing Jesse's truths carefully to protect the kids. Let's leak the rest anonymously, I said, sharpening my focus. We need to hit his firm harder and make Jesse face his issues in therapy or court if necessary. Sarah agreed, and together we felt a surge of anticipation. Our resolve grew clearer, even amid the storm. Over the next few weeks, the plan we sketched began to take shape, gathering strength as I handled the delicate situation at home. The house was mostly quiet, with the kids happily playing while Jesse wore increasingly forced smiles. Therapy sessions started in earnest. My counselor probed into the roots of my anxiety in dimly lit offices, where I began to unpack the cycles of my past. My mother's voice echoed in my mind, her warnings pushing me for secrecy that now fueled my desire to seek the truth. "You're making a change," the therapist said one afternoon, jotting notes as I shared my feelings. "But revenge can have its consequences. Think carefully about them." Her words stayed with me, a reminder as I got ready for what was to come. The tension felt heavy, like dark clouds on the horizon. The chance came at a family barbecue that Steve hosted. It was a gathering where relatives mingled, enjoying plates of grilled food and laughter that hid the deeper issues under the surface. The backyard was lively with the sound of burgers cooking and cousins chatting. I arrived early, my heart racing with anticipation, slipping my phone into my pocket. Inside it were recordings, DNA results, and Victor's admissions, all set to play through a hidden Bluetooth speaker. As guests arrived, casual chats began. I forced smiles, feeling nerves tingle through every conversation. The smell of smoke from the grill hung thick in the air, and kids ran around, giggling and splashing each other with water guns. "Hey, brother," Steve said, giving me a friendly pat on the shoulder, looking at me knowingly with his grill tongs dripping with sauce. "The kids look excited. Is Jesse okay? Everything good?" "Yeah, keeping it light," I replied, keeping my tone relaxed but wanting to guide our talk toward family news. I discreetly cued my plan, letting a low-volume clip of Victor's voice play during a quiet moment. People turned their heads in curiosity, and Aunt Linda paused mid-bite of potato salad. "What's that?" she asked, her fork in the air as others chimed in with curiosity. "Must be a glitch," I said lightly, allowing the clip to repeat softly just enough to grab attention and build intrigue. As the afternoon went on, more clips started to play Jesse's words from our previous argument, Anne's stories woven subtly into the background noise. Guests exchanged confused looks as the tension thickened, with Cousin Emily whispering to her husband, "Did you catch that? Something about a conflict?" The playful atmosphere began to fade as hints of betrayals began to emerge, slowly growing into a significant moment. Everything changed when Victor showed up uninvited. Jesse's messages had indicated she informed him for support. His confident entrance disrupted everything. I turned up the volume during a conversation, the speaker suddenly blasting his recorded claims, going after her to hurt him revenge for past issues. The backyard went quiet, eyes widening as proof unfolded DNA results were displayed on a screen pulled up from my phone, outlining motives for inheritance and the disputed will, the truths about Jesse's departure revealed. The reactions from the guests exploded into gasps and whispers. "What is happening here?" Victor shouted, moving closer with disbelief in his eyes, his face getting red from the accusations. His bottle clanked onto the table. "This is the truth, Victor," I replied, feeling a rush of energy as I spoke, my voice calm yet filled with emotions. "Your plans, the tricks, all to bring me down because of an old grudge. And Jesse? Tell me the truth about the stranger at the party and the lies." Jessie suddenly fell to the floor, holding her stomach as stress hit her hard, breathing heavily in the middle of the chaos, her face growing pale as she hunched over. "Jack, stop, this is too much! The baby!" Anne quickly ran to help her, clearly affected too, her own secret surfacing as she cried out, "You promised to keep this quiet. This ruins everything, my marriage and my past mistakes." Victor reacted angrily, his voice rising with threats. "You'll regret this. I'll sue you for making false claims. You can't prove anything." "Proof is happening right now," I shot back, as more accusations flew around with others joining in, Steve stepping in sternly, saying, "Back off, man," and Aunt Linda gasping, "Is this really happening?" The tension in the yard became unbearable, everyone shocked at what was unfolding. The situation shifted quickly. Victor's team would act fast with legal action, but the truth was already out, and whispers of disbelief spread among the guests, disrupting the family gathering. The next 2 months became a blur of legal meetings and heavy silences, a series of intense questioning where lawyers asked me about the evidence. Victor's counterclaims felt like a constant shadow, his team insisting I lied while ours presented recordings and documents, courtrooms ringing with objections and typing sounds. Therapy sessions broke up the chaos, my counselor asking, "Was this exposure a way to heal, or did it make things worse? Consider the impact on Jesse." Social workers visited to check on the kids during this tough time, their innocent drawings changing from images of broken families to signs of hope. Jesse's emotions swung wildly, and doctor visits tracked her pregnancy, each scan a reminder of how fragile things were. Meanwhile, Victor's firm escalated things, sending subpoenas, but we held strong, using the questionable will as crucial evidence to link his motives to wrongdoing. Then, one late night, the call came Jessie was in labor, early due to all the constant stress from everything happening. Her body was struggling under all the pressure, and the doctor's voice on the phone was urgent. "It's due to the stress. Nothing else is causing this, but it has sped everything up." I rushed to the hospital, feeling heavy with guilt, moving through the dim corridors, lost in thought as I walked in the waiting room, the sound of machines, a somber background, the bright lights above harsh on my face. "She's having a tough time," the doctor said softly, telling me outside the delivery room. His clothes were wrinkled from working for a long time. "The baby is fragile and needs special care. It's just from the stress. There are no other problems." I nodded, feeling tight in my throat, going in to hold Jessie's hand. She looked pale against the sheets, sweat on her forehead. "Jack, the stress. It caused this. The changes, the fights." "I'm sorry," I whispered, feeling worried. I gently touched her cool forehead as the little cries from the incubator filled the room. Our baby was a fragile reality now, and it weighed heavily on me. In the quiet moments that followed, I thought a lot about what had happened, a chain of effects: Jessie's health, the kids' confusion, and the legal troubles pulling us down deeper. Regret settled in with a heavy acceptance. Seeking revenge had its cost, leaving part of the problem with me. Inside, I battled my thoughts. Had all this helped or hurt us? Quietly, I thought, both, and I would have to live with that. The echo of therapy's voice was clear. "Face what happened. Jack, start over from here." The hospital's clean sounds continued long after the delivery, creating a sad background to the tiny cries from the NICU, where our premature baby fought for every breath. The weight of my actions sat heavy in my chest. Days passed in a sad routine of beeping machines and soft conversations, with Jessie healing in her room, looking tired and pale, the IV reminding me of the cost. One afternoon, sunlight streamed through the blinds, leaving shadows on the floor. She reached for my hand, her grip weak but firm, her eyes filled with sorrow that tugged at my anger. The sterile smell in the room mixed with her floral lotion. "Jack, please, talk to me," she said, her voice breaking. Tears ran down her cheeks. "I know I messed up everything. The party, the stranger. It was a silly mistake. But your constant watching made me feel invisible, like you said your mother felt when you were growing up, left out." Her words struck deep, and she breathed heavily, making me feel a mix of pity and empathy amid my anger. "Left out? Jessie, I was trying to protect us from this very thing. You need to admit the truth. Victor, Anne's pressure, all of it. You lied from the beginning. Why?" She tightened her grip on my hand, tears escaping as she held her wrapped stomach. "The truth is, Victor listened when you didn't. I felt important after months of your doubts. Anne fueled my anger, but I turned to lies to avoid fights. That night, after Victor pushed too much, I made a mistake and got involved with someone else on impulse, just wanting to escape. It was foolish. But Jack, your worry built walls around us. I felt suffocated. We both share the blame. We let it grow. Mutual? I repeated, pulling back a bit as we faced each other, the tension thick with accusations. You're saying my trust problems from years of being hurt match your choices? The lies and the affair, that's on you. She nodded, tears flowing more freely, her voice rising in defense. Yes, that's on me. But you created the cage with your trackers and questions that turned love into doubt. We both messed up, Jack. Can we forgive? Not for me, but for the kids, for this baby fighting through our struggles. We exchanged our faults, the truth of her lies and my part in her feeling alone until fatigue took over, leaving us feeling raw but with a fragile thread of understanding. I stepped away and let her rest, the conversation leaving me shaken. I found Sarah waiting with coffee, her presence calming amid the chaos. We sat on a quiet bench in the garden, the air cool with the autumn breeze, leaves crunching under our feet. As I shared my feelings, her eyes softened, and her hand covered mine with honesty. Jack, there's something I need to tell you, she started, her voice filled with trust, her past sinning softened by sincerity as she looked at me. At first I reached out because of Victor, my ex who damaged my career and left me hurt. I saw your connection to him and thought using you could help me get back at him by gathering information. But now, what we have, it's real. My feelings grew naturally, beyond any plan. I love you, I fell for you unexpectedly. Her confession sent a mixture of hope and bitterness through me, reminding me of my own mistakes as I processed her honesty. You used me? Sarah, that's unexpected. But I get it, revenge blinded us both. How far did this using go? She leaned in, sincerity in her eyes, her grip tightening. Just at the start, Coffee, asking about Victor, but your story, your pain, they were so similar to mine. The plans faded and a real connection took its place. Can you forgive me? It began with calculations, but you are everything to me now, no more games. I nodded slowly, feeling the weight of forgiveness as a fragile bridge. Yeah, I understand the desire for payback. We both have scars. Let's start fresh. Our bond deepened, her honesty guiding us toward a true connection. Weeks later, the end of our marriage came clearly. I filed the papers in a lawyer's office filled with the smell of coffee and old files. Every signature felt like a firm goodbye. I made sure to get custody of the kids. Their stability was the most important thing. Their transition would be gentle, with weekend visits and therapy sessions to help them adjust. The counselor's office became a regular place for them, where their drawings changed from broken pictures to hopeful ones of families. Jessie sat across from me, looking down, the air heavy with mixed feelings as I felt a weight lift. The buzzing lights above us added to the tense atmosphere. So this is it, she said, her voice formal but touched with sadness, her pen hovering, her hand shaking a little. You get custody, I have partial. Can we still be kind to each other, Jack? For what we had. Therapy is helping me sort this out, and I see some improvement, taking responsibility for my part. I looked into her eyes and nodded with a hint of forgiveness. Yes, kindness. Not full forgiveness, but enough to co-parent well. Keep up with the therapy, Jessie. The counselor says you're making progress. Focus on that for Ayla's sake. She signed the papers, a small step towards closure, as silent tears fell when we parted. It was bittersweet but necessary, and her quiet thank you lingered as I closed the door behind me. With Sarah, new beginnings awaited us. Her apartment felt warm and welcoming, where we enjoyed quiet dinners together. Her laughter brought a sense of peace as the heaviness lifted. The kids adjusted well, playing happily in her living room. I thought about our growth wounds healing, trust rebuilding, and a hopeful future ahead with therapy helping. We heal by making choices, not just by fate. Feels good, I said one evening, holding her close, sharing optimistic plans and soft whispers. A fresh start for us and the kids. No more dark times. She smiled, resting her hand on my chest. Together, Jack. We deserve this. A year later, the divorce was final. but its effects still lingered in our daily routines. Months went by in a blur of court dates and quiet adjustments until Jesse faced a new reality alone, parenting our young child Eli. He was becoming a lively toddler, his laughter a reminder of everything we had gone through. She moved into a small apartment downtown with thin walls and loud hallways. Her days were filled with doctor visits and sleepless nights, and the struggles showed in the tired lines around her eyes. Victor had disappeared after the divorce, lost amidst the trouble that had come from it all. Rumors from Sarah's friends brought up fraud charges against him. He fled the state, leaving Jesse behind. His promises turned to nothing. Our co-parenting talks were rare and often tense, mostly about picking up and dropping off Eli. There was a lot left unsaid between us, but therapy was helping. Mine was ongoing, and she had just started. Over time, things got a little easier. One afternoon, I showed up at her door for Eli's weekend visit. The hallway smelled of takeout and baby powder, and I could hear Eli giggling as she opened the door. She looked tired, with bags under her eyes, but she managed a small smile. Eli was clinging to her leg, his chubby hands holding onto her jeans. He was walking now, and we had both cheered that milestone through our back-and-forth texts. "He's been a handful today, he's teething again," she said, giving me his backpack. Her voice was low but steadier than before, and I saw some worry in her eyes as she bent down to kiss his forehead. "The doctor says his lungs are stronger, though. No more worries there." I nodded and lifted Eli into my arms. It felt good to hold him close, his little fingers pulling at my shirt. "That's great to hear. You'll keep an eye on him. How about you? Is therapy helping?" She leaned against the doorframe, arms crossed, but it didn't feel aggressive. There was a softness to her. "Yeah. I'm trying to understand why things went wrong. The mistakes I made, your doubts too. We both added to it. I'm taking responsibility now. For him." Her words hung in the air between us. It felt like a step toward understanding as we stood in the hallway, Eli chattering away. "That's good progress," I said, trying to keep my tone even, but acknowledging that it was a small victory. "Eli asks about you. Keep working on it. He needs stability." She nodded, tears in her eyes but not falling, gently touching Eli's cheek. "I will. Thank you for being kind in the custody thing. It means a lot." As she closed the door, I felt a mix of guilt and relief while I walked away. She looked tired, but there were signs of change in her. Weeks later, we got some surprising news about Eli's background. Sarah and I were going over new test results in her sunny kitchen, papers spread out like a puzzle of family ties. It was part of a project we had been working on, using files my mother had given me, old business records and contact lists. Sarah used her detective skills to dig deeper into them. "We found something," she said as her laptop worked quietly. The smell of fresh coffee filled the room. The test swab from Eli didn't match Victor's family, but connected to a family line related to my biological father, old business partners from years ago. The trail led to a distant family member linked to that competing investor, possibly a co-worker from past business deals my mother had mentioned. "Look here," Sarah said, pointing to the chart in front of us. Her voice was thoughtful as she continued, brushing her arm against mine in the small space we shared. "It seems that your mother's past is connected to that rival investor's family. She had a brief encounter, likely with someone from work. We found this through the public records about the will in question. It all fits together." A surprising realization struck me. My mother's short-lived connection echoed into this child's life, weaving generations together through hidden truths. "It can be changed," I whispered, seeing the pattern in a new light. "This isn't fate, just choices repeating. We can stop it here." Sarah took my hand, her support strengthening my determination. "Exactly. The test shows the connection, but we can choose to change it." With Sarah by my side, healing began to happen slowly. Her calming presence helped mend the cracks in my life as she participated in therapy sessions. Her thoughts helped me unravel my past trust issues. We built a family rhythm together, drawing the kids closer with board games and movie nights, filling our home with laughter. One weekend, we went to the park for a picnic beneath the large trees. It felt like a sign of trust as the children played, with Eli toddling between us on his little legs. giggling as he moved. Sarah linked her fingers with mine, her touch warm and comforting as she spoke softly in the warm sunlight. "Look at them, happy and free. This is our life now, Jack. We are building something strong." "Yeah," I said, pulling her closer. Her head rested on my shoulder, and I felt comfort in her embrace as I kissed her forehead, her hair brushing against my lips. No more chains, just us moving forward, making it real. That night, I dove deep into my thoughts, writing in my journal about the difference between inheritance and choice. I felt a sense of peace as I wrote under the lamp's light. Legacy wasn't based on blood, but on the choices we make. My mother's past served as a warning, not a curse. A calmness washed over me as I promised to change, ensuring that my children wouldn't face the same shadows. My inner voice echoed, "End it here. Choose trust. Break the loop." With that, I closed the journal, my resolve strong. The leap toward hope felt fragile at first, a delicate thread woven into our new life with Sarah and the kids. Yet the past had a way of creeping back in unexpectedly. One crisp morning while sorting through the mail as breakfast dishes clattered around me, a letter caught my attention. The envelope was handwritten and postmarked from a town I hadn't thought of in years, stirring a cautious mix of emotions in my chest. My mother's handwriting was neat but unsteady, like the words held a heavy past. I opened the letter with care, my heart feeling the pain of old wounds. As I read her message, it said, "Jack, we need to talk. I've held this in for too long. Please meet me." This decision weighed on me all day. I struggled between wanting to avoid her and the anger I felt. But Sarah, with her gentle support at dinner, changed my mind. "Go," she said quietly, placing her hand over mine. "Talking could help you more than you realize." So, I set up our meeting at a cafe. The drive there was a blur of memories, echoes of past conversations that felt like ghosts. When I saw her at a table in the corner, she looked older but still familiar, her eyes filled with emotions ready to come out. She stood as I walked over, and we exchanged a careful hug. I could feel her slight frame shake against me, and the familiar scent of her perfume brought back a rush of feelings. "Jack, you came. Thank you." I sat down, my words careful. The air was thick with the tension of reconciliation. "What do you want, Mom? After all this time?" She held her coffee cup with trembling hands, her voice low and full of regret. "I've lost everything. Jerry left me when the truth came out, and I was left with my mistakes. Your siblings were right to cut ties. But this regret, it has consumed me. Your biological father was the son of one of Jerry's business rivals, someone I met at a work deal. It was just one night. I never told him or anyone else. I thought I could hide it." Her words settled heavily. The shadow of my biological father came into focus, connected to the same complicated world as Victor. My mind drifted back to her stories about those dimly lit meeting rooms, filled with cigar smoke and the sounds of deals being made. She had mentioned once, casually, how young lawyers danced and flirted amid the tension, her laughter bright as she spun around with the rival's son, his charm pulling her away from home. "It was just one dance," she had said then, but now it felt like that dance led to a painful truth buried deep inside, echoing into my life and now Eli's as well. The memory hit me hard, her younger self reminding me so much of Jesse's wild nights, another cycle repeating. "Why are you telling me this now?" I asked, my voice calm but firm. "After asking us to stay quiet for you?" She looked into my eyes, ready to share her truths. "Because dealing with my own consequences helped me see what I put you through. I let my chaos affect you kids. Can you forgive an old fool?" Not completely, but enough to move forward. The conversation remained calm, with truths uncovered gently, her regret adding depth to the hurt she caused. It reflected her own struggles, much like my own. As we exchanged our thoughts, her tears fell while I shared bits of my therapy experiences. The soft sounds of the cafe surrounded us, helping us find comfort in our words. As we talked, we both felt a sense of healing emerge, bittersweet forgiveness settling in as I took in her honesty. "I forgive enough to find peace," I finally said, my voice steady, helping to soothe old wounds. "Not completely, but it's enough." We can move on cleanly. Then things changed. It was her files, taken from her bag, that connected Eli's DNA to that rival family, bringing everything together. These documents, old contacts, and ledgers helped piece together the information Sarah had been searching for. It ties it all together, I said softly, with a sense of understanding. We said goodbye on good terms. Her hug was brief but genuine, a protective warmth as I drove away, feeling lighter, our paths parting without hard feelings. Victor's downfall came quickly and justly, with the truth revealed in a courtroom weeks later. We testified alongside other victims' former colleagues he harmed, whose stories echoed Sarah's. Speaking in court felt powerful, and my words were strong under the judge's watchful eye. Mr. Lang took advantage of personal weaknesses for his own benefit, I declared firmly, exposing his deceit-leaked deals and manipulated inheritances that showed his malice. The countersuit fell apart amid the growing proof of his wrongdoing, the judge's gavel marking its end. Sarah spoke next, her story tying everything together. He destroyed careers and lives, mine too. This is the end. The verdict brought a wave of relief, as punishment for fraud put an end to his plans, and the media buzzed with a sense of justice. Headlines read, "Corporate saboteur sentenced. Our names hidden, but our impact felt." Jessie's journey showed hope in the months that followed as we made progress in our co-parenting, her visits to the apartment becoming polite while Eli flourished in our shared care. One evening, as we sorted out our schedules over coffee, she hinted at change, her voice warm. "Therapy is helping understanding the reasons behind my choices," she said, her eyes meeting mine with a sense of goodwill. "I'm improving, Jack, for Eli and for myself." "That's good," I replied, supportive but cautious. "Kids see the differences. Keep working on it." The gentle changes unfolded, our interactions improved, her growth a quiet sign of hope, redemption weaving through the history we shared. The house that Sarah and I chose together, with help from the kids, felt warm and welcoming, like a comforting embrace. It was a place where we could start fresh. Every morning, sunlight flooded through the big windows, making golden patterns on the wooden floors. The smell of fresh coffee mixed with our children's laughter as they hurried through breakfast. They were happy here. My daughter created colorful drawings at the kitchen table, her smiles bright and natural, while my son worked on his homework with a focus that showed he felt safe. Questions about our old house came up now and then, but we talked about them together in family therapy. Sarah moved gracefully through our daily life, helping turn hectic moments into happy ones. Just doing simple things like packing lunches or sharing smiles felt meaningful. One weekend morning, the kitchen was alive with noise as we made pancakes, flour covering the counters like a light dusting of snow. Eli, in his high chair, giggled as he spread syrup on his tray. My daughter dramatically flipped a pancake, and we all laughed when it landed awkwardly. My son stayed focused on mixing the batter, his brow furrowed in concentration. Sarah stood beside me at the stove, playfully bumping into me, and with a warm smile she handed me the spatula. "Teamwork makes the dream work," she joked lightly, but her eyes showed the deeper bond we had formed through our challenges. As we served the food, the kids excitedly talked about school and what we planned for the weekend. Eli cheered, banging his spoon on the table. Sitting together, hands joined briefly, the moment felt special, old wounds fading as we shared this family time, remembering what we learned in therapy, being open about our feelings and no more hiding things. It was a simple scene, but it meant a lot, finding joy in the little things, like spilled milk and sticky fingers, a sign of how much we had grown. One quiet evening, as the sun began to set, I decided to let go of my old habits. I gathered up the old trackers and other devices I had saved, tucking them away in a drawer like forgotten items. I took them to the fire pit in the backyard. As the flames flickered to life, they consumed my old tools, and the warmth on my face felt good, matching the relief in my heart. No more worries hidden away. I could trust fully now. Our therapy sessions helped me with this change, and our counselor smiled as I shared my progress. The soft lighting and calm colors in the room made it easier to open up. "You've grown, Jack," she said during one session, her voice calm. Letting go of control, that's how real connections form. Sarah held my hand beside her, creating a bond we had built together. Her fingers brushed against mine, a promise of deeper ties without doubt. She whispered softly, "I'm proud of you we're in this together." Jessie's visits fit into our routine smoothly with friendly exchanges at parks or doorsteps. Her improvement was quietly felt in our conversations. One Saturday, as Eli wandered between us on the playground grass, she met my gaze with a shared understanding. "He's growing so fast," she said, watching him chase a ball, her tone steady. "Yeah, and he's doing great," I replied, noticing the positive change in her therapy seemed to bring a lightness to her spirit. "You look good, too. Keep it up." She nodded, a small smile appearing. "I am. For him, for all of us." The joy of the child brought healing in these moments, Eli's laughter mending small hurts. Our interactions felt friendly and smooth progress moving forward, creating a sense of peace like a gentle wave. Then, one afternoon, a letter arrived unexpectedly, slipping through the mail slot. Its words were intriguing, creating a moment of curiosity as I read it to Sarah in the study. This letter wasn't anonymous. My mother had helped send it, sharing names from her past during our last conversation. "I found some contacts' family traces, if you want to connect. No pressure, just thought it might help with closure. We've found potential siblings through recent tests," I read from the letter, feeling the crisp paper in my hands. "Possible family members would like to connect. No pressure reply when you're ready." Sarah leaned in closer, her expression thoughtful. "Siblings? From your mother's side?" "Looks like it," I said, putting the letter down. "It's tempting to explore this, but with everything going well now, should we open that door?" She considered it, her tone calm. "It could give closure or lead to confusion. Maybe we should set it aside for now and focus on us." "Yeah," I agreed, placing the letter away, keeping that option for later, no rush, just a chance lingering quietly. In the peaceful evenings, I reflected on the journey we had taken, thinking about the positive choices over the past's chains. There was a hopeful feeling in the laughter of the family inside, a forward look marking the end of the storm, bringing a sense of calm like a new dawn. The weight of past betrayals was heavy, but now they were lessons that made me stronger. Therapy had helped untangle my feelings. My mother's story was a warning, not a curse. Jessie's mistakes reflected my own, and we both worked on our issues together. Victor's downfall was a kind of justice, but my true success was creating a new life. I learned to trust again, day by day, without relying on tricks or doubts. The stars shone above us, vast and uncaring, reminding me how small our problems were compared to the big picture. I realized I had the power to forgive partly, to love completely, and to break patterns without seeking revenge, focusing instead on finding peace. I let go of the past and looked forward to the future, with hands joined together, celebrating what we had built. The kids gathered on the couch for story time. Sarah snuggled up next to me, and our blended family created a scene filled with hope hands held tight, bright futures ahead.